Welcome to another episode of the Solo Scaled podcast. I am your host, Ken Freire, and today I have Jason Moore, the founder of Midnight Oil Productions, with me. And the reason why I'm really excited to talk to Jason is that we've been talking a lot about the age of AI and how AI is revolutionizing our world today. And predominantly, it's also revolutionizing churches and how churches tend to be a little bit more skittish when it comes to new tools and how to adopt them and how to use them. So I'm excited to talk about Jason on how, one, he's using it for churches, and two, how to ethically use AI for your business. Because you may be listening to this and wondering, I know I should get on the AI bandwagon, but don't know exactly how to do it, don't know where to start, and you're just really confused. Jason Moore is your man to talk to today. Jason, thank you and welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Ken, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah. So, Jason, before we dive into your origin story, tell us, man, what is it that you do day to day?
That's a great question because I do a lot of things. Primarily, I am a consultant. I work with churches to help them better what they do. I do a lot of hospitality consulting and that sort of thing. But I also went to art school, so I'm a graphic designer, media producer, and inside and outside the church world, I do a lot of that kind of work. And here lately, I've been doing a lot of content creation, kind of for kicks, but starting to gain a pretty solid following on social media and that kind of thing. As I guess you'll talk about, I'm also an author. I've written 14 books and a public speaker. So I do about last year I did 44 speaking engagements, and I do a little bit of everything. So
Yeah, just 44. That's nothing. That's only two-thirds or almost two-thirds and a half, if you want to call it that, of your weekend's gone.
yes,
Or,
well, some of them I do from the comfort of my studio in my basement, but I actually just got back from a 7-day trip where I did 6 speaking engagements over the course of a week and a
ooh,
bunch of different states and so on and so forth. So
okay. So, because you do a lot, if you were to synthesize, like, what is it that you ultimately try to aspire to do for people?
yeah,
Because you have a lot of mediums, what is
yes.
it that you accomplish for them?
I would say more than anything, I try to help people tell their story in as compelling a way as they can. And so, of course, in the church world, that might mean that they are sharing the good news with people. And how do I help them share the gospel in ways that are as compelling as can be, that sticks with people, that is memorable, all those kind of things. I also do a lot of work in the secular world, and I try to help businesses, individual clients tell their story in a way that gives them the best shot at building relationships, which leads to business and all those kinds of things as well.
Sorry about that. My wife just came in.
That's okay. All good.
It's the only person that could interrupt me during the recording. I'm like,
Hey, I give my wife the same permission, so all good.
okay. Let me just pause here for a second.
Are my levels okay for you? I'm seeing, as you know, I can see on the bottom of the screen both of our levels, and it looks like my levels are really quiet and yours are solid. Do you have what you need from me?
I am seeing pretty good. It's looking
Okay.
pretty good on my end.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right, Jason, thank you so much for that synopsis. I'm curious, why did you decide to jump into this venture out of all the things? I mean, you're kind of a jack of all trades, right? You're able to do a lot, but you're like, hey, I want to be able to help people communicate their message, their story. Why go down that road?
Well, a really kind of crazy part of my story is that as early as like third grade, I knew I wanted to be an artist when I grew up. In third grade is about the time that I discovered like I could draw in ways that other people couldn't. And everybody wanted me to draw a picture for them. And then sometimes people would describe what they wanted and I would draw it and all of that. And I just always kind of loved helping people bring their vision to life. or bring their story to life and that kind of thing. So I will say that I spent most of my childhood and even into early adulthood. My dream was to go to Hollywood and make movies, and I thought, gosh, it'd be fun to tell stories at that scale. But and this might not make sense to all of your listeners, but in high school, I felt a call to ministry. I felt a call to use my gifts to help the church better communicate its story. And so rather than moving to, I went to art school and graduated top of my class. I mean, funny thing is, the director at the school sat me down. A large church in my area wanted to hire me, and he sat me down. And he was like, "Please don't go to that church. You could have such a great career, you know." And I'm like, "I know this doesn't make sense, but I just felt a calling to help the church better communicate and tell its story rather than me just go and tell Hollywood stories." And I probably would have made a lot more money, and I mean, I had more fame and fortune and all those kind of things. But it really was just following a call. So I get to do that both in the church, but also I really love to help small business owners, people, individuals that might have a dream, make that dream a reality by again telling their story in compelling ways.
Yeah. What have you found for most people? They have a story, but they don't know how to communicate it clearly. What's the first way that you typically help them to get that story out there?
Well, I think the question I often ask is what sets you apart, what makes you different, because we all have shared stories. There are things that people can replicate, but I find that everybody has some unique thing or unique approach that they take or the way that they see the world. And I try and help people kind of distill whatever it is they do into what is your unique voice? What is that story? What is the part of the big story that you tell that is uniquely you? And so I find that people tend to want to, I'm bad at this myself sometimes, to tell too much of your story or to do too many things. I had a company I started back in 2014 that created explainer videos for companies. And it was all motion graphics kind of stuff. I did a lot of work with Penguin Publishing. I did book trailers and that kind of thing. And we always tried when we were working with a client to say, you get three things. What are your three big things? Because your software, your story, whatever, you might do 20 things, but people can really only take in like three of them. So in my view, it's like you've got to write your synopsis. Like that's the little blurb on the back of the book. That's enough to get you to pick up the book. And then you go home and read the whole book. But how do we tell enough of our story in a very intentional way to get people to want to invest in the whole relationship and knowing our whole story?
From a marketing standpoint, I think about this a lot for people. Like you see this, they have a value proposition. And then after the value proposition, like what are the three things they're known for?
Yeah.
Like, and you see this a lot on websites. They're like, oh, we do this. And then here's how we do it. But man, it gets convoluted so fast. Like I do this too, right? I'm even in the process of writing a book right now and I'm like forcing myself to not do this. But we're like, oh, I'm good at this, right? Like say it might be helping people scale. But what I mean by scaling is, and then you try to add like 15 other things to it,
Yeah.
right? The layering of it. How do you avoid people from layering too much and just be like, you got to be these three things, known for these three things, not like, hey, I'm scaling, but I'm also about productivity because you need productivity to scale kind of thing.
Yeah, it is really hard to sort of figure out like what are your main things. This is one way that actually AI is helpful. That sometimes you can give it a bunch of data and say, help me distill this down to like the most important thing. I had an organization that wanted me to come and speak to their organization, and they asked me to send my bio, and I sent my bio to them, and my bio was way too long. And so they're like, we need like a 500 word bio, not or actually, I'm sorry, it was like a 100 word bio, not a 500 word bio. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to take and distill everything that I do down to, that many words? And I gave it to ChatGPT and said, okay, here's my bio. I need like a version that's 1/5 the length of this. And it was amazing that somehow it managed to make it still feel like it was all of it, but it was only just, the 100 words or whatever that they wanted. I also think that this isn't as big a deal as it used to be, but back when DVDs which is a long time ago, and even Blu-rays, had commentaries. I always love listening to the filmmakers talk about the stuff they cut. And they're like, oh, we shot this whole scene. I mean, it was one of the most expensive scenes. It was my favorite scene in the movie, but it didn't propel the story forward. And so you can watch the extras on the DVD or the Blu-ray of the things that got cut. But in order to tell the best story we could tell, we had to make some hard decisions. And I think that's the thing is we're so in love sometimes with our own material, or we feel like something is so important that we include it, but it bloats whatever story we're trying to tell. And then people can't find the most important things because it's surrounded with stuff that's not as important as the most important thing. So I don't know that I can always successfully get there myself, and I don't know that I can always help people do that, but I push as hard as I can to help people kind of determine what are the three main things, or it doesn't have to be three, but what are the main things that you do, and not mentioning every single aspect of what we do.
Yeah. What's the framework that you typically use to help them cut things? Because I think that would be really important for them, like, or a decision matrix, if you want to go ahead super
Yeah,
businessy.
I mean, for me, it's less of a systematized thing. It's a lot of back and forth conversation. It's a lot of clarifying questions. It's sometimes, okay, so you just told me two things. If you had to pick one of the two of those two things, and you had to leave the other out, again, it kind of reminds me of like back in the day when Twitter came around and you had 140 characters. You got really good at figuring out how I might need 200 to say what I wanted to say. But since I'm forced to put in 140, I'm going to find a different way to say this that's more scaled. And so I don't really have a specific process for how I get them down to those things other than just a lot of conversation. The other thing is that it's really good to have an objective voice. So one of the many things that I do in my consulting work is I offer what I call secret worshiper consultations. So I just did this a week and a half ago in Florida. A church will bring me in. I basically take notes from the parking lot into the building. I look at signage. I look at hospitality practices. I listen to language in the service to see what is insider and all that kind of stuff. And then I do a report afterwards, a verbal report, and then I do a written report. But I can be an objective voice. And sometimes we're so close to our own practices and our own, in this case, scenario, our own buildings, our own environment, that we miss stuff. So I'm sure you've heard the term nose blind. We go nose blind, like you can't smell it anymore, and it's there. Somebody else walks in, they smell it immediately. So I think that what we can offer to people, offer to businesses that we're working with, is to be that objective voice that doesn't have as much passion around the individual aspects of a business, but that, to me, I know you really care about this because of, all of the time that you spent developing it. To me, that doesn't seem as important as this does, or whatever. So sometimes I'm just trying to be that objective voice that is helping to sort through the tough decisions on how do we get really intentional about the story we're telling.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I think is so invaluable here is that you could have easily said, well, I help them use AI, which AI could be extremely helpful to help discern is the wrong word, but like help them to distill a few of those things. But ultimately, they need a human individual that can discern the process of like, this is where you need to go. This is what you need to cut. Like almost see their emotions, right? As they're processing through it, and be like, I'm discerning enough to know this is the way to go.
Absolutely. And, that's in the work that I do in the church world. I am very cautious. My mantra when it comes to AI is to embrace the technology, but exercise restraint in how you use it. I think the thing that we have to keep in mind, whether you're secular or sacred, it doesn't matter if you're working in the church or in the business world, is to remember that AI does not have a gut check. It doesn't know how something feels. It doesn't. When I'm talking with a church leader, I might say, if you go to AI and say, what song would be perfect for this moment, it might analyze a library and pick out a song that has the right words, but have no feeling at all if tonally, if that music is too upbeat or too slow, or, it doesn't know what that song feels like. But as a human, we do know what that emotional connection looks like. So I love AI to be objective on certain things, but then I think we always have to have people in the mix. And my caution to any business owner or any leader really is that if you become too isolated with your AI, you can start to lose a little bit of that human connection. The other thing I would just remind your listeners of is just to remember that you have a soul and AI does not. And if you don't bring enough of your soul to what you're doing when you interact with AI, then you get really soulless outputs. And so I will hear people talk about, I tried having ChatGPT write this thing for me, or Gemini wrote this thing for me, and it just didn't feel very, it was dry, or it was, just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason that happens is that AI does not have a soul. So it can analyze what other people have written, but it can't fully understand the emotional weight of what those words mean. And so, I just think it's important that we keep people in the mix and we use AI. I would say more than anything, my greatest belief about AI is that it should be a do it with you, not a do it for you. And there are certain things it can do for you, but I think you've got to be in the mix as you use the technology.
That's great. Jason, I want to pause here real quick. Jason, you're spot on the reality of that being cautious with AI. Now, I know right now there's a lot of early adopters to AI. We're one of them, right? We're like, let's use it. But there are a lot more people who, instead of being cautious, they're almost like fearful of it. They're not even using it. And there's a lot of business owners who are not using it. And it could be a detriment to their business. So for those individuals, like, what are some practical tips, maybe mindset issues that you could help them with to say, hey, let's start implementing AI, and where would be a good spot for them to use it?
Yeah, I actually just did a call this afternoon before I was on with you with a group of church leaders, some of which were talking about how scared they are of it. And I am a big believer in the idea that demonstrating rather than debating is often going to give you the best opportunity to engage with a tool like this, because we can debate all day long about the dangers of it and the environmental impact and all those kind of things. But when I can show you what it does, in fact, I actually got invited to do a training in Florida today based on that call, because I was talking to them. I said, let me just open it up and show you what you can do. And I showed them how ChatGPT could help organize thoughts. And someone said, how could we teach our people about how not to get scammed with AI? And I said, well, here's what you could do. And then I opened up ChatGPT and it put together a whole program on how to do that and what questions to ask. And they were so blown away by it. So, first, I would say that people ought to dabble a little. And the wonderful thing right now about AI, I hope it stays this way, but at least in its infancy
Yeah.
right now, it's free. I mean, there's free options. So I would encourage people to jump into ChatGPT or jump into Gemini and ask it to help you with a problem that you're dealing with in your business. And you'll be shocked at how good it is in guiding you through whatever challenge you're going through. So dip your toe in the pool, try it out.
Yeah. So as they're dipping their toe, I know sometimes what can happen, and that sometimes is most of the time, AI can be very people pleasing. They're just going to help, like, if you input it the wrong way and you're like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? They're like, oh, yeah, that's the best idea ever. And you're like,
Yeah.
actually, that's a horrible idea. How do you mitigate it as someone who's dabbling for
Yeah.
them to get as accurate of information as possible and not confirmation bias?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that is definitely something that you have to think about. One of my favorite ways to use AI, and this is something I tell the church leaders I work with all the time, is to ask it to take on the opposite perspective or to be the foil to your ideas. Because sometimes I want it to be the skeptic, to ask the hard questions I'm not thinking of. And another way that a lot of people they have the wrong mindset about what AI is or how to use it. I don't think we should treat AI the way we've always treated computers. in that it used to be that you gave a command and it did a thing, or you gave it a query and it produced the answer to that query. I don't think of AI as a command or query type of situation. While it will do that, I think of it more as a collaboration or as a conversation. And so the more that you have back and forth with it, most of the time, the reason the AI fails is that you haven't given it enough information to be successful. So part of it is reframing the way we think about AI. So to treat it like a collaborative partner, treat it like an intern that doesn't know everything, but it knows some things. And when you begin to talk to it, and give it context so it understands the task you're after, the role you want it to play in that task, what success looks like. Define that for it. Give it examples of things that you think are good. So if I'm trying to get ChatGPT to write something, I have an example of what I think a good written article looks like. I can give it to the AI and say, look at this. Here's what I want to do. I want something that has this kind of a feel or tone. And then success would be that we write something that is X, it's not going to give you an exact word count, but around this length with this style. But here's what my vision is for it. So there is some learning to talk to it that we have to do. But here's another tip that I give people all the time. AI will teach you to use it if you ask it how to use it. So you say, ChatGPT, I know nothing about using a chatbot. What are some of the things that I need to know to have a successful interaction with you? And it'll give you a whole laundry list of things to do. And then if you follow that, you're going to have better interactions than if you just jump in and start asking questions or start doing a thing because you don't know how to talk to it quite yet.
Man, that right there is a fantastic tip because I had to almost kind of learn the hard way from watching all these videos of people and they're like, hey, make sure you tell it the context and what role you want it to play and all this stuff. And I was like, I could have just asked it himself or itself, right? And it probably would have given me the same information than hours of me, watching videos early on when AI was first starting to come out.
Yeah. And, I am not a big fan. While I appreciate the idea, for a long time in the early days, all you ever heard people talking about was becoming a prompt engineer and how do you engineer your prompt and this, that, and the other thing. I don't think that there's some magical incantation that if you just get all of the right things in your spell, this one prompt to rule them all is going to give you everything you want from AI. Instead, I think you have to do iterative conversations with AI where you say, here's what I'm trying to accomplish. You might give it a little bit of information that's going to give you something. And if that thing is not right, you're going to say, that's not what I'm after. And here's why it's not what I'm after. And the more you shape it, I think of it a little bit like I'm also a physical and traditional artist. And when I'm sketching something, when you start out, it doesn't look at all like I do portraits of people. I've been hired to do that and things in the past. And sometimes in the beginning, you're like, oh my gosh, this doesn't look anything like them. And then you start shading, you're like, it's starting to get there a little bit. And you just have to keep working the sketch until it takes on the right shape and you get things where you want them to be. And then eventually, when you put in kind of that final bit, it turns into the person that you want. Same thing is true with AI. Like it's probably not going to do exactly what you want it to do on your first prompt, but the more you help shape and sketch what you want, eventually, if you interact with it enough and you go back and forth, you get what you're after.
Jason, as we talk about AI, I love that iterative approach because that truly changes a game where people don't feel like it has to be perfect right off the bat.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people struggle with, perfectionism, right? It's like,
right.
Why don't they jump into AI? Because they feel like they have to be perfect at it. Why don't they use it well enough? Is because they feel like they have to be perfect. And you're just giving us permission to like, just dabble, just play, just move.
And, I would venture to guess that most of your listeners have learned more in life from their mistakes than they have their successes. I mean, sometimes I feel like I learn more when, oops, I shouldn't do that again.
Yeah.
And here's another tip I would give your listeners. When you're working with AI and you're going back and forth and you get something and you just don't like the way it's written it or it's the image that it's made or whatever the thing is, what I almost always do is I'll take whatever it's given me as a starting point. For me, I typically find that AI gets me 60 or 70% of the way there. And then it's on me to get the last 30% done. I mean, most of the time AI is not going to do all of it for me. And I really don't want it to. Like, I still want to be creative and I still want to shape what I'm doing. But here's what I'll do, and this is my tip. After I take the 70 or whatever, even 80% of what AI is done, I'm going to bring my 20% to it, finish everything up. And then after I'm all finished, I'll give it back to the AI and say, I want you to learn from what we've done here. Here is what I ended up doing with what you gave me. And because like ChatGPT has persistent memory, it's going to learn from all those interactions. So I want it to start to recognize what I'm bringing to the mix and what success looks like so that it knows how to get closer to that success each time we interact with each other.
That's a fantastic tip. I've done that a few times. I need to start doing that more. So I love that.
I found for me that it does a better job, and now then it starts to anticipate the changes that it knows that I'm going to make, and so it makes more of them ahead of time, or it avoids the mistakes, I guess, because it knows, hey, every time you give me something back, you're not doing this or this or this anymore.
Yeah, that's great. So Jason, what I want to do real quickly, you've given us a lot of tips on how to use AI. I'm curious, how are you using AI to grow your business? Because you got a lot going on, man. You're, you're everywhere. What's been the strategies you've been using to grow your business?
Well, back in October of last year, well, let me say this. At the beginning of 25, I thought I am going to start being more intentional about creating content to grow my influence, my following on social media and that kind of thing. And so I started more regularly producing content. Kind of first started out on TikTok and was starting to have a lot of success and traction there. And I had a few little viral hits and stuff. And interesting thing was about halfway through the year, TikTok changed their algorithm and nothing that I made worked on TikTok. And I started posting more on Facebook. Anyway, in October, when Sora came out, I started doing more videos, and I do a combination of things. I do kind of old nostalgia. I do kind of fun stuff. I do some political commentary type things. And all of a sudden, like, I started getting some traction by posting regularly. But everything I did, I would kind of run through ChatGPT and say, okay, so here's my concept. This is the script I've written. Help me, help me with keywords. Help me with what time of day should I post this. I analyze the data, or have ChatGPT analyze the data on the results of a video. So from October until today, my following's grown to about 32,000 followers just in a few months. That seems to go up like every month. Right now, I mean, I have 2 videos that I just posted that are about 500,000 views just in the last 3 days. My guess would be that one of the 2 of them might even hit 1 million by the end of today or tomorrow. Based on what I've been seeing. But I'm using ChatGPT to help me strategize. So I feel like it has a better knowledge base on what keywords work for what videos. It'll sometimes tell me, don't post this right now, wait until 7 o'clock. All that. So far, that has served me well. When to respond to comments, when not to respond. Sometimes I have to argue with ChatGPT. I'm like, I feel like I need to go. No, let the conversation be open, and then you come in and you do it later. And so far, that's served me really well. But the other thing is that I use it for creating branding and things in the work that I'm doing. So I love using a combination of Gemini. I'm a traditional graphic artist, but I like to use Gemini or ChatGPT or Midjourney or Ideogram to get me started on crafting, logos and graphic content and all that kind of stuff that I will almost always tweak, but it gets me a good part of the way there.
Yeah, that's that, man. I wish I could have your graphic design brain, because every time I bring this up for a reason, because every time I try to use Midjourney or Nano Banana, right? That's Gemini's thing. Because I don't have the artistic expression to prompt it correctly, the inputs, it's like, oh, it's good. But then I see my other friends, graphic designers, who are like, because they're an expert at it, when they're like, hey, I want this dimensions, I want it to look like this, I want it bold, aesthetic, like they know the right language. it comes
Yeah.
across so much more like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
I do think having traditional skills definitely enhances what I get. But, and you probably have tried this, but if you haven't, most of the generators have a describe feature where you can give it an image and then say, describe this to me.
yeah,
And sometimes you can teach yourself a little bit about what makes a good design by asking AI to take a look at it and tell you what it sees. And sometimes it'll describe for you like a certain lighting scheme, or what kind of camera, or this is a fisheye lens, or, whatever. And if you can start to learn, you can start to learn some things just by the language that AI is using when it describes it, because you can use that language then when you describe what you want to the AI. The other thing is I think a lot of people underestimate the value of giving AI a good example. So if
yeah,
you, one of the things that I've done really since I was in art school, in fact, they taught us to do this when I was in art school, is to collect references. So I had a physical folder back when I went to art school in the late 90s, and I would just stuff it with stuff. Like I'd save junk mail. I'd get a postcard that I'd be like, I don't want to buy this service, but I love the design, and I'd stick it in there. And then I'd pull it out someday when I was like stumped. A client wanted something like, oh, I like the colors on this or whatever. I would create on your folder, on your hard drive, on your computer, a folder that is references. And I just stick stuff that you see that you like in there. And then you can always go to ChatGPT or Gemini and say, I want something that has this aesthetic, this look, this font, this whatever. And that will help you create better images with AI just by using references. It's not about copying the design so much as it is kind of copying the essence of it. Like, what makes this inspiring to me? And then the AI can help you achieve something that looks, is in that same, in that same vein.
Jason, for you, as you were talking about earlier, with social media growing and that's helping you grow your business. Uh, just to be clarify, are you using primarily LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram? What's like the social media platform that you're doubling down on right now?
For me, I have had the most success using Facebook. I know that's not everybody's platform. I have a LinkedIn account that I occasionally look at, but it's not my thing. I think it'd probably be smart for me to spend more time there, but it's not my. Facebook comes natural to me. I have Instagram. I have TikTok. I I have a YouTube account that I don't ever do anything with that I should. I mean, at this point, I'm growing like wildfire on Facebook, and I really need to translate that over to YouTube. So that's one of my goals for this year, is to start to have more presence on other platforms. But I found that for me, Facebook is, for my clientele and all that. I get a lot of speaking engagement opportunities out of it. People will see I'm out, I'm doing something. Hey, will you come do this for us or whatever? I use it pretty organically, but also strategically as far as like the content that I'm posting. And it's easier. I have found it's easier to get people to pass videos and stuff around that I'm doing on Facebook than it is TikTok and YouTube and that kind of thing. So,
Yeah, that's great. Jason, I want to wrap up our time here with the expert led business trend report that I talked to you about right before we hit record. These are the same 5 questions that I've been asking. And hopefully, for those who are listening to this, they're like, oh my gosh, Jason is a wealth of knowledge. Because of your background, I would encourage everyone to go follow Jason, and we'll put all of that stuff in the show notes, and you get to hear it at the end of the best way to connect with him. But I want to see what's working and what's not working for you right now. So here are the 5 questions very quickly that I'm going to ask you. Question number 1 is, what's something in your business you're experimenting with right now?
definitely experimenting with content creation and just trying to figure out what hits and what doesn't. So, I would say reels. I'm doing a lot with reels these days.
I love it. I love it. Question number 2, which part of your business feels the most influx or kind of keeps you up at night?
Well, I am not a good salesperson. I hate that part with a passion. So I'm confident in my work. I I'm great at delivering on a deadline. I just am not. I don't like the sales part of what I do.
Yeah. You're not alone.
Yes. Well, I had a sales guy for a while. I mean, I had a partner that was a sales guy, and he was great at it. He fielded all that stuff while I did all the work. I mean, I did all the kind of creative work, but I haven't found another person like that. And we ended up going separate ways amicably and all that. But yeah, I need a good salesman in my life.
Sounds good. I have a list for you. Question number 3: What's a goal you're building toward this year that you're really excited about?
Again, a goal that I'm working toward is just mastery of AI tools, and in my particular genre, like I'm trying to be known for and really excel at media creation, videos, graphics, and that kind of thing. So my goal is to master the tools.
Sweet. Question number 4: where do you see the industry shifting? And for you, you're in several industries, but a lot of the media industry shifting. And how are you preparing for it?
Well, I think we're all afraid that AI is going to take our job. And as a content creator, as a media graphic artist, I'm certainly a little nervous. But I think for me, what I'm doing to kind of get past that is to, if I'm concerned that people are going to go to AI rather than come to me, then I want to be the guy that they go to learn about AI. So I'm trying to get out on the front end of. I think your listeners, if you lean into how AI can be used in whatever business that you're in and become the expert on that, then even if AI becomes a thing people are going to, they're going to need somebody to help them learn how to do it. And
Yeah.
if that becomes you, then you're good to go.
Last question: what's the legacy you want to leave behind?
I hope that at the end of the day, people, I, it's kind of a two-part thing, or maybe even a three-part thing. Number one, probably least important, but I love to entertain people. So I hope that people at the end of the day say, he made me laugh, or he made me think, or I got a lot out of his content. Second thing is that I really want to help people, again, tell their story. So I hope that when people remember me or whatever, they say, he really helped me get clarity on how to tell my story and make a difference. And I think the third thing is that I really take pride in the quality of my work. So I hope that when people see what I do, whether they even agree with the content, they can say that was really well done. Like he really cares about what he's doing, or he puts out, good content. So those are, I think, the three things.
That's awesome, man. Jason, for those who would love to connect with you and just like either learn more or be like, I really could use Jason in my life to build some stuff, what's the best way to connect?
They can, if people want to connect via email, my email is mail, MAIL, at midnightoilproductions.com. It's long, but Midnight Oil was taken by the Australian rock band from the 80s. So mail at midnightoilproductions.com. I currently have a website in development that's way long overdue, but midnightoilproductions.com is my website. There's a form there you can fill out to get with me. And if you want to follow me on social media, I am at Midnight Oil PROD. They don't let you go all the way to production. So at Midnight Oil PROD. And then on Facebook, if you want to connect on Facebook or follow me there, this is a little silly, but it's facebook.com/rubber poultry, like rubber chicken. But I thought rubber poultry was funnier and it's never taken. So, MidnightOilProductions.com, I'm sorry, facebook.com/rubber poultry. You'll find me there and all of my wacky creations.
That's fantastic. I wish I would have started with that to begin with. It would have been a fun little nugget.
There you go. Well, back in the day when I first started going into chat rooms and things in the early days of the internet, rubber chicken was always taken, and I like to be funny. And I thought, what's funnier than rubber poultry or rubber chicken? Rubber poultry, and nobody's ever used that as a handle. So
that's awesome. So for those of you who are listening, if you want to go check out Jason and all his antics, go to facebook.com/rubber poultry. Hope you guys have a great day. God bless.